All right, y'all, let's jump into this video and find out why marriage is slowly dying. This is coming from Gen on YouTube. This guy, he's on the come up, man. This guy is an incredible channel. Highly recommend y'all follow, subscribe to this guy's channel. GEN, very easy to find on YouTube. He does a lot of these independent journalistic videos where he goes on the streets. It's part street interview. It's also part like research. He'll interview subject matter experts on the subject matter. Really, really good stuff. So let's jump in and find out why marriage is slowly dying here in America.
Wish that you would have done differently.
I wish I would have married a girl that was like 8 years younger.
What would you guys say is like the secret to a long and happy marriage?
A short memory. I think marriage and love don't have that much to do with each other.
Today I'm out here and the question that I'm asking is, what is your biggest dating or relationship regrets?
Well,
I ain't gonna hold you, man. I've said this before. I am a firm believer that it's not about love. Like you want to have love, but here's more important than love. Here's you ready for this? You're ready for this. I think more important than loving someone, you need to actually like them. Like you just have to like the person. And do y'all understand how different that is from loving someone? It's totally different. If you don't like that person that you're about to commit to, I don't think that once the love is gone, it's like, yeah, I'm ready to dip at that point. You know what I'm saying?
I just have no regrets whatsoever. My dating life was absolutely fabulous. But then he happened to be there, and that was it.
That I didn't propose.
She made that sound so bad. Like she was out here in the streets, all these dates. Then I got with him.
To my wife sooner than I did.
Great answer.
That I didn't wake up sooner to the marriage.
A love I left in New Orleans. She was the love of my life. We hadn't gotten to know each other. I don't
Oh, pimp player.
have any idea how much she regretted the breakup. I know I have.
How old are you and at what age did you guys get married?
32. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm 57 and we got married at 24.
See, that's like very rare. I feel like my age too, right? Like I'm 26, I have a girlfriend, but I don't know anyone like my age or any of my friends who have been married yet.
It took me 25, 27 years to fall madly in love with this woman.
So along with these successful couples, I also wanted to ask someone with a unique expertise on marriage, especially for when things didn't work out.
James Sexton.
Here's James Sexton.
I'm a divorce lawyer in New York City.
Oh, I've seen this guy. Yeah. Like he be really spitting game as a divorce lawyer. He be giving the game on like what you should do to protect yourself and all of that stuff. Guys, don't forget, make sure you smash the like on the streams if you're on IG and TikTok. It really helps a lot, especially on TikTok, man. Just crush it, spam it, because TikTok don't want to send the streams out to all the followers.
I've been practicing divorce law for about 22 years. I'm the author of 2 books. If you're in my office, it's already too late. A Divorce Lawyer's Guide to Staying Together. And the other is called How to Stay in Love, Practical Wisdom from an Unlikely Source.
You mentioned that you believe in love, but you don't believe in marriage. Do you think your experience as a divorce lawyer and, seeing probably the most extreme of cases, as well as your, personal experience with divorce yourself, do you think that has impacted your view on marriage?
I think my own marriage, which ended in divorce, definitely did not make me not believe in marriage. I'm really glad I was married. I have 2 wonderful adult children, but I don't think that was unsuccessful. I think sometimes things end, and that doesn't mean they weren't successful. I think that we have a definition of marriage that if it doesn't last forever, it was a failure, and I think that's a wildly inaccurate definition of a successful marriage.
I agree. Y'all ready for this hot take, y'all? I believe that there's like a 10-year lifespan on this stuff. I think once you've hit 10 years with someone, you've pretty much done all that you can really do with them, right? So anything after that is a bonus, but it is extremely challenging to keep it fresh, exciting, and all of that, all those feelings that captivated you from the beginning to allowed you to get with this person from the jump. It makes it much more of a challenge. I think 10 years in anything you do is like a long time. You know what I'm saying? I just think that the decade rule is kind of a thing, so that's my thoughts. I think after 10, it's easy to kind of just be like, all right, y'all, Had a good run. Bye.
I know people that stayed together absolutely miserable. I get to see a really honest version of things because, again, the two people you never lied to or never should lie to are your doctor and your lawyer, because our only job is to protect you, and we have total, confidentiality. The majority of marriages end in divorce, not living happily ever after.
But before we continue, when 52% of marriages end in divorce, is the concept of till death do us apart a dead concept? Because like anything these days, there's divide.
I don't think what we have today is really marriage.
Pearl.
You shouldn't hold on to things that no longer serve you.
Why would I get married? There's no actual reason to get married.
So with people waiting longer and not choosing to marry at all, I wanted to explore the current state of marriage and what the future holds for relationships. With our lack of trust in institutions and increasing isolation, are we too far gone? And also, what does this all mean in the context of my own relationship? I guess we gonna see.
Enjoy it for 10 years, bro. Enjoy it for the next 10 and then you out.
You mentioned that again, once you are in a divorce lawyer's office, the relationship is screwed, and that marriage isn't a rapid death, but a long and slow one. What can both men and women do so they never end up in your office?
I think we disconnect really slowly from our partner. I think the best thing people can do is to be mindful of slippage. It's a lot like getting super fat and then realizing, okay, I gotta lose a bunch of weight now. It's like hard to come back from that. It takes a lot more effort. Except in this situation, there's multiple people, right? There's two people in the story instead of just one. So it's two people that have to be kind of disciplined and focused and on the same page. If you ask most people, like, oh, what do you like best about your girlfriend or your husband or your wife? Like, they're nice and they're smart and they're funny. But if you drill it down and say, like, tell me a couple of things that they did this week that you really liked, it's weird stuff. A lot of times, it's not what they think it would be. And it's just as easy to devote your energy to those things as it is to devote it to the things that make each other miserable.
What would you guys say is like the secret to a long and happy marriage?
A short memory.
When you base your value system on the same thing, that's really helpful.
Well, actually, I think you just put up with everything.
Hold up. She tickled my pickle on, said, I'm just waiting until my youngest is on her own and I'm out. 25 years is long enough. I appreciate the honesty. Yo, IG, are we good? Are we live on IG? I don't see no comments.
If you lost everything, I'd still be with you. If you were really sick, I'd still be with you. That's real love. I think one of the hardest things for young people to understand is like a bad phase can actually be a whole year and a half.
So it seems like being able to be adaptable and grow with each other has been like a big secret to your guys' long marriage. Is that right?
I would say so.
What do you think is the biggest difference between a wife and someone who's a one-night stand? For both men and women.
A wife or husband, that means substance.
What do you think is the most important quality to look for in a partner?
You should go shopping with your date to see what they buy and how much they spend, because I think money is a very important part of the equation.
I'd imagine you guys are pretty different from 32 years ago. I feel like I'm changing every single year. In that sense, how has your guys' relationship evolved?
It's certainly less tempestuous than it was in the beginning. I would say it was real operatic for a while. See?
Some things never change. And so unlike older generations who typically got married around their 20s, that's not the case today. Gen Z and millennials are open to marriage, but waiting around 10 years longer to get married at all. Look at me, I'm 26, almost 27, and not married. Whereas my parents have my older sister at this age, and I'm here making YouTube videos. Whether it be student debt or higher living costs, it makes sense when looking at Gen Z dating.
Here's the thing too, man. Like, I don't know if you want to be like in your 40s having a kid. Not that it's it's obviously more risky for a woman to have a child later in life, physically and all that. There's more risk association with that. Child could be born with some kind of thing going on with them. But beyond that, like, imagine having a kid later in life rather. And, are you going to be physically capable of running after them and chasing them? Like, there's that other aspect of it too. I'm on the mindset of like, man, better off having them when you're younger where you can actually do that stuff.
Lives, and its polarity as the loneliest and the horniest. 2 different studies found that just half of high school seniors were actively dating, and 1 in 4 young adults were remaining celibate for an entire year. In short, they ain't. Well, Not exactly the case. Because on the other hand, we're also seeing more adultery and promiscuity, but in an ethical way. Approximately 20% of all Americans have experienced or attempted ethical polyamory at some point in their lives, with that number skyrocketing over recent years. And with Gen Z embracing diverse gender roles and individuals who identify as bisexual or pansexual having a higher likelihood of engaging in polyamorous relationships, is this a passing trend or a lasting one? And so I was curious on what the old heads thought. Another thing that's kind of been like more popular in our generation has been polyamorous relationships. What are your thoughts on polyamory?
You know, I have a few friends in open relationships and I've met polyamorous people. They're always really eager to talk about it. For me, I'm just not emotionally wired that way.
I think that's a bad idea. I just think that's super confusing.
I'm too jealous and too emotionally chaotic, I guess, to take that approach.
And so it's clear that compared to older generations, the dating scene has changed from expectations to realities. Because back then, without the illusion of unlimited choice, getting married to their high school sweetheart after 6 months together wasn't that crazy. And so since
there's that aspect that's 100% true. Dating apps ruined our generations, the millennials and the Zers. It ruined because everyone feels like there's another option available. And it went from only having a small pool of people to choose from in your local area, because you couldn't just go, date across state lines like that back in the day. You had to pull from like who's in your city, your block, your neighborhood, or whatever, and that was it. That's your selection, Now, because you can date on a global scale, no one's ever content. Everyone's keeps swiping. You might have a perfect person, but there's still like this sense of FOMO. And so people still keep swiping, thinking there's somebody else better with one swipe away. I think the other part of this too is that different from our generation to like our parents and their parents is the economy. Like back then, women didn't work or weren't allowed to work and all the stuff. They didn't have the same kind of rights that they do now. So it was really urgent for them to find a husband to provide for them. So I think that was a big component of why they got married much younger. Now, women are not pressed to marry a man to provide because they can work. Like they can provide for themselves, right? So since there's no direct financial reason to jump into a marriage early because you can't work, provide for yourself, they're able to like prolong it and be like, no, I'm going to wait to find the right guy. And then, so I think it's twofold.
I've been dating my girl long distance for the last 10 months and I haven't married her yet. I wanted to ask further about the differences between generations. Because as someone who's scared of marriage myself, I have doubts. Can our generation really be the ones to succeed where others have failed? Because as my own relationship has progressed, so too have thoughts like, is she really the right person I can spend the rest of my life with? But perhaps it's natural to have doubt and fear over one of the biggest decisions of our lives. So let's just say that if each person can only buy one engagement ring in their lifetime, I'm sure we'd be a lot more careful. And Dairy Ring is a brand specializing in engagement rings to address exactly that. Dairy Ring has a unique concept that allows you to purchase only one ring in a lifetime for your true love, compared to now.
That was a pretty slick ad read right there.
Cool. I mean, because we have an opportunity to find all kinds of action quickly to dating sites.
Obviously, we didn't have Google and all the stuff you guys got today, or like my sons got today. It was more one-on-one, you have to talk to a person.
Yes.
From what I've heard.
Hey, and that's what we've lost. We've lost the one-on-one talking, man. Everyone wants to date through an app. Everyone, and this is the irony in it. Like people want to date, but they want to do it through their phone. You can't really get a feel for someone through the phone. Like you gotta go and meet with them. Everyone's judging everyone else off of what's listed on their profile by the numbers. You know what I'm saying? It removes the personal feeling of it all, right? You don't get a chance to really connect with someone. You might look at their, let's say their stats, right? Like, on the profile, and because of something on there, maybe there was a typo, maybe it was a grammatical error in the bio, maybe it's because of the height. Oh, they're 5'7" and not 6'3". Like whatever kind of a thing, you eliminate them. When I bet you if you met them in person, they might like blow you off your feet because they have an amazing personality. They're hilarious. They have a good energy about themselves, and you piss it away because of some arbitrary thing that you're judging people on by their profiles. We really got to get back to just being out here and meeting people in person and walking up. Guys, cold approach. You gotta step up your game. How to cold approach a woman properly, respectfully, and doing it in a way that she doesn't feel smothered or fearful. Some of y'all just be running up on their face like this, and you're like, "Yo, bro, you gotta chill." She gonna think you're up to no good. You gotta really like make these kinds of improvements.
Especially for my children's friends, is that there's a lot of filters applied to it. And in fact, in our case, had we applied filters, we would not have married, I would think. I'm not sure we would have.
Yeah.
How did you learn about relationships and dating when you were growing up?
We had role models that we could look at and family around us that supported that.
So I feel like a lot of my generation these days, we struggle with dating and relationships in general. And the general kind of consensus is kind of a negative view on dating. Why do you think this is kind of a struggle point for our generation?
Well, I think it's primarily social media. I mean, for example, when I met Tanya, there's an immediate physical, emotional vibe that you get, which, you know, you just don't get through electronics.
Malik, what's up?
They're too casual about how fast they sleep together. Sex becomes such a big deal that they aren't willing to put the effort in to just get to know each other.
And with the rise of hookup culture, it's undeniably influencing how people date. And when art represents culture, it's no surprise that we're now seeing content on dating gurus, pickup artists, to OnlyFans influencers. But interestingly, this surge is also giving rise to a counter trend in a different type of content.
If you are not familiar with the term trad wife, it is a woman who chooses to live a more traditional life with ultra-traditional gender roles.
There's been a recent resurgence of traditional marriages as seen by people like this TikTok creator.
I don't want to be a corporate girly, I don't want to climb the ladder, I don't want to be a boss babe.
Trad wives are traditional housewives who believe their role is to be
homemakers.
And their content from cleaning to cooking has caused quite...
I mean, she's definitely grifting. I've never seen her, but just she's going back to like 1950s era look and the whole aesthetic. She's grifting, but I have seen the rise in the trad content from women.
Quite the controversy on social media, as some say trad wives push regressive
What's
beliefs
up,
on
Tim?
women's rights and are exclusionary to the queer and trans community. And some also argue that maintaining
Usually
a
they're too
traditional
hot, they're a little
marriage
too
in
crazy.
this day and age is an unrealistic standard, especially as gray divorce has increased over the years. But is this true? Since 1990, as attitudes towards divorce has become more socially acceptable, divorces for those over 50 has nearly doubled. But with some
That's
studies
crazy.
showing that men in a gray divorce tend to experience more negative effects than women, wanted to ask the lawyer.
I'm curious on your thoughts on the post-divorce, right? Once that's all settled, who fares better? Women that are divorced or men that are divorced?
Dating men, for sure. Women are much more open to the presence of stepchildren or a boyfriend with children. They don't really look at the kids as baggage as much as they look at them as a part of this person who they are feeling romantically about. Conversely, women who have children, a lot of men, particularly high-value men who are successful themselves, children, they're viewed as having baggage.
So with statistics showing that 64% of men remarry compared to 52% of women, seems like men do fare better when it comes to dating post-divorce. But
Yo, the other thing about this, I never understand this for men. Men, I'm gonna say, men, we're fucking stupid. If you marry once and you ends in divorce, and then the number there says there's 60 whatever percent they get remarried. Do you know that they also the rate at which their second and or third marriages end in divorce is even higher? Like it trends upwards. Once you get your first divorce, if you remarry as a man, you're at a even higher rate of divorce for your second or even a third. So I don't even understand why guys like doing this. You just must hate your money at that point. You already got your first wife takes half your shit in your assets or whatever. Oh, let me go get a new wife. Oh, she divorces me because the divorce rate for the second marriage is something like 70% or something high. It's really high. And then you lose the other half of your pension. I don't know. Some of you guys are stupid. Please don't do that. I don't understand this need to always be married. You gave it a shot, it didn't work out. You know what, bro? Just play the field, have fun at that point.
In general, it's evident that individuals of both genders experience distinct challenges post-divorce. Because despite dual income...
Tanny said most men view women with kids as a burden. Yeah, they do. It's true. And I don't think it's unjustified. Let me explain why this is a valid concern and why men think like this. Simply put, if I step into a woman's life who has children already from a previous marriage or whatever, if I step in and we're together, one, I'm essentially going to end up paying for the kids that are not mine, indirectly or directly, one or the other. At some point, a woman, whether she admits it or not, will expect or hope that you'll end up contributing into helping raise the kids in some form or fashion. Again, whether it's buying them a meal for lunch or whatever, you're going to come out of pocket for them, right? If you end up taking that role as a stepfather and you are providing, financially helping raise the children as well, what happens when you get into a situation where you need to discipline the children? Remember, they're not biologically yours. And what tends to happen is if the stepfather comes in and in the male role, being the disciplinarian and disciplines the children, if the mother doesn't like that shit, it's like, don't talk to my kids like that. You don't have any say, you really don't, legally or otherwise, any say truly in what happens with those children. You can't really discipline them because if the mother doesn't like it, she gonna be like, you don't ever talk to my kids like that, or you don't ever lay a hand on my kids like that, or whatever happens. So as a man, why would you put yourself in a situation where I'm doing all the things like a father, but then I can't fully exercise my what a father's kind of role in terms, especially when it gets into the disciplinary aspect of it all. So that is going to be a big, and I know men, this is how I feel about it. It's how other men feel about it. This is going to be more of an issue when the children are younger, much younger. And then if you get with a woman that has children that are in their teens and whatnot, then you got to deal with the teenage years. Now now you're stepping into a role where they know you're not their daddy. You know what I'm saying? And they got the attitude and they got the teenage moodiness. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's, unless the children are like about to be out the crib type shit or older adults, then it's like not a big deal for men. I think it's like, oh, okay, your kids are grown. It's cool because they're grown. Like, they know I'm not their daddy. I don't have to discipline them or do all those stuff. It's fine. But when the woman has children that are young or teenagers, that's where men are going to be much more apprehensive about.
Households becoming standard, women are more likely to be financially dependent on their husbands. But on the other hand, even if men are the primary breadwinners, women are more likely to initiate the divorce and also more likely to receive...
Mimi said, I feel like I come across a lot of men who don't want to remarry after a divorce. Yeah, Mimi, I'm not... Well, can you blame them? Like, if you put yourself in the man's shoes, think about after that first divorce, we already know that in the courts, men just don't have don't get a fair shake in the court. So women is going to get half the assets. If there's no prenup involved, most cases there isn't. They're going to get half. They're going to get alimony, perhaps. They're going to get a lot. They're going to get a lot of his resources. So why would a man want to remarry and risk losing whatever else he has left? You know what I mean? Like, if people were to just kind of put themselves in the man's shoes in that regard, it should make sense as to why they're gonna be like, yeah, no, I'm not cool. I don't want to marry. You know what I'm saying?
Receive empathy and support during it, compared to men who have a higher likelihood of substance abuse and depression. And in some cases, reputation loss can even occur. As seen in the initial Amber Heard Johnny Depp case in 2016, where Depp lost many roles due to alleged emotional and physical abuse. And not only so, child custody also tends to favor women, but some argue for good reason. Most women take on the primary responsibility for child rearing, where fathers spend roughly 50 minutes less with their children than their mothers.
I think this also, like, this is very true, and I don't have an issue with like the mother being the primary. In most cases, any little kid's always gonna want their mommy. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think there's nothing wrong with it as long as the father has equitable time allowed to see his kids. You know what I'm saying? And a man should, even if you don't work it out, things don't work out with the mother, y'all, men, you gotta still be a fucking father. Yeah, you gotta still be. It ain't about being a child support check daddy either. You need to put in time, and maximize your time with them and all that stuff. But as he kind of covered here with those numbers, yeah, the courts, it doesn't favor men by and large. Women will vastly win the custody cases, and all that stuff. And men have to really fight to get at least split time or some level of child rights and stuff like that after a divorce or a split or whatever the case may be. There were some other comments I saw in here. Tanny said, I understand your point, but I think it's all about communication and how to work things out. I'm a single mother of 2 and it's a little difficult for me dating. I agree. It should be all about communication. That goes so far away. If things are established, like, hey, you're in my life. If you are, if you treat my children well and you embrace them and you're doing, then I'm going to let you treat them like as if they're your own. And if that means, then here's my belief of disciplinary matters. What's yours? You got to just have those conversations. Like, do you believe in hitting a kid? It's a very controversial topic, especially in today's age. You know what I'm saying? Let me ask you guys real quick. Do y'all believe in popping your kid? I'm not saying, let me be clear. I'm not saying beating them. I'm not saying abusing them, but your kid did something goofy, pop them in the back of the head. I grew up, I caught so many chanclas to the head from my grandmother. You know what I'm saying? My mother hit me with a broom in the head one day. That shit hurt. I still joke with her to this day when she's like, you don't remember that? I was like, no, you know what? Remember when I was thinking I was like 13. Like, remember when you hit me with the broom in my head? I'm like, yeah, my memory's scuffed right now. You know what I'm saying? But like, what I'm trying to say? Like a little whack in the butt. Like, just something to get them to like, hey, I'm not playing around. Like, what's y'all take on that? Smack them so quick? Hell yes. Get the brooms. I done got hit with quite a few different things, y'all. I done caught a couple of fades from moms and grandma. Rest in peace. Take a flying pan and pick your own switch. When I was living with my grandmother in Puerto Rico, I was like 3 or 4. I remember this too. I was a little older than that. We were in Puerto Rico, and I remember I pissed my grandmother off, man. She went outside and got a branch, bro. She was chasing me in the crib. I remember that as a little kid running. No, like real talk. Memories, man. Yo, Luke, thank you, brother. I appreciate the compliment, man. Thank you, bro. Let me see if I missed any other comments real quick. Fathers statistically are much better option to raise children. Yeah, I did see that as well. But here's why I think that is, and I'm speaking as a father. I have a 14-year-old daughter. I just had an amazing conversation with her. I picked her up and brought her back to the crib with me today. Every Friday I do. We had an amazing conversation in the car every Friday on the car ride, because it's through traffic in Chicago. And so I spend that time where we have like conversations about life. Like right now, the conversation was about her taking the right classes in high school that are benefit her for her future. One thing that we talk about a lot is make decisions on things that's going to impact and better your life in the future. And if you are not doing things that is going to pay off and benefit you in the future, it's not really worth your time, And so we're talking about that as far as like with colleges, the courses that she's going to take. She's super into astrology and space and all that stuff. Like we got back here, she went outside with a telescope and was taking pictures of the moon. And like, I love it. You know what I'm saying? I say that to say that as a father, where we failed as men generationally is we left an entire generation of children, our children, without having fathers to discipline them and keep them on the right fucking path. You know what I'm saying? Like if a lot of us men was around, even if you fall out with the mother, you know what I'm saying? If you still had a chance to be there as a father and you chose not to be there, it's probably why the children now, are I hate to be generalized here, but my belief is that if the fathers were in the homes or at least parenting, they may not be wilding out to the extent that they are now. There may not be as many women on OnlyFans as there are now if the fathers were there to like empower their daughter, to teach them like, hey, these are the ways you can go about stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give you the tools so that you don't have to go get naked. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, it's a woman's choice, granted. But as a father, for me, my goal right now is to give her every fucking tool possible so that she never has to resort to showing her body. Ever. You know what I'm saying? If it's a young boy, I'm doing everything possible to give him the tools so that he'll never got to run in these streets and do any wild shit in the streets. You know, and that's where I will criticize us as men as a whole. We weren't around. We left a lot of women without having, we left a lot of the children without having their fathers around. And we're important, man. We're there to straighten them up. You know what I'm saying? We're there to give them on the right path, like discipline, keep them in order, teach them right from wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's not something, mothers take on a lot of roles, you know, being the mom and being the dad, but they can never be a dad. They can never be a father. And while they do an amazing job raising children by themselves, and my mother, same thing with me, I didn't have male role models until I went to the Marine Corps, and they taught me how to be a man. If I didn't have them, y'all, I promise you I wouldn't be the same man that I am today. You know what I'm saying? It's important to have a man in the child's life. Let me get back on track here. 90% of people in prison raised by a single mother. I've seen that statistic too. Pain is highly important in training a human or animal. Not crazy, but a tap on the hand. Yeah, fair point. God damn, I'm gonna screw your name up, bro. Malikison? Sorry if I screwed it up, bro. But yeah. Blisters, dance. Mom would tell me to grow up better for that too. Yeah. My son is almost 16. I never raised my hand to him, but he knows when I'm not playing. And that's an important part too, right? As a father, you can convey the I'm not fucking around aura without having to hit them. And you know, that hitting is the last resort. Like, you really messed up. I'm about to pop you in the head, you know. But yes, you're right, Luke. You know, you don't have to exert to that. If you're doing the right kind of fathering, all you got to do is just stare. Like, my daughter knows, bro, when I get a certain tone, I'm like, yo, what? And she's like, oh, fuck, I'm in trouble. That's all I have to do. I don't got to like get loud normally. I don't got to raise a hand. Or you know, I think maybe when she was little, I might have popped her in the butt. Like, hey, what are you doing? But like, I've never struck her, you know what I mean? Like in a rage or anything like that. Like, it just takes a little bit of tone in the voice and be like, do you hear me right now? And oh shit, you know what I'm saying? I grew up fearing my parents and grandparents, a healthy level of fear, and knew knocked up again. Yeah. I mean, listen, we can go into the gentle parenting and why I think that's failing children now. Too many parents are way too hands off, way too gentle. Like that shit is whack, bro. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Monica said, I had my father in my life, but how can I put it? He was very strict with us, especially with me in general. Yeah, because you're his girl. Yeah. I couldn't do anything. He even had people watching me when we were going on your tour. Later in life, I had a resentment against him. With a heart of heart, I apologize. He might have been a little overly. Sometimes a father can be a little overzealous with it all. Let's get back to the video and I'll pick back up on the comments.
Seen in the months-long custody battle between Olivia Wilde and ex-husband Jason Sudeikis, Wilde secured full custody and now resides with her children with her current partner, Harry Styles. So as a man, I'm not gonna lie, that scares me on marriage. Because even though my relationship has been so great and I love my girl, I also know that this is how many failed relationships began in the initial stage. And so I'm clearly not the only person in my generation that's feeling this way about marriage. And I'm also not the only one wondering what the future of relationships will look like. You mentioned that the pendulum swings both ways. That anytime there's a correction, there's always going to be an overcorrection.
Yes.
You mentioned that the next swing will be a return to more traditionalisms, and that marriages will actually surge. How do you think this will impact the future of marriage?
There's a lot of resurgence of traditional, old-fashioned courtship, not having premarital sex. I think people are feeling spiritually very lost right now. We tried to convince people that consumption would fill the void, and it didn't. People in that spiritual quest will tend to go back to the answers that religion gives. The mass.
Yo, it's so funny he's talking about this. Over the years, I've noticed this, and let me preface this and say that I am by no means the perfect Christian. I am Christian. My mother and family were in a Baptist church. So I kind of started there, but then I went to Catholic high schools and stuff. So I kind of like adopted some level of Catholicism and stuff like that. Overall, though, I've noticed how we as a society have further and further over the decades have separated ourselves from religious belief. And I'll just keep it very broad, whatever religion, but it seems as a society, we try to do more and more to separate it from our schools, obviously from government, separation of church and state. That's kind of a given, but we've, or at least there's been a systematic push to remove it from where it always used to be in the community and in these areas. And I wonder, I'm simply just posing the idea here. I wonder if that has contributed to the current state of things. Like, it used to be that religion would guide how you acted in your relationships and all that stuff. And now not so much. There's a lot of atheists. And again, I'm not passing judgment on whatever belief system you have, right? I'm just merely saying that religion was a way to keep family units in society in a way working. I'm probably not phrasing that properly, but hopefully you kind of get what I'm trying to get at here. It's just kind of an interesting concept that it was brought up. You know what I mean? Medica said, every parent's trying to be a friend, which kills the disciplinary role as a parent. I agree. Let me catch up on chat real quick. All right. Where else? Did I miss anything? The way here in the Middle East is different from the West. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that a lot more people are starting to point out to other cultures and showing that like they still have a better success rate. If you look at like Middle Eastern, Southeast Asian cultures, like India, like where they still do arranged marriages. You look at Latino families and stuff, like they're still very much family orientated, and they're having a better success rate, I think, generally speaking, than we are in the West. And what's a common denominator amongst those regions? Well, religion still plays a very big part in those regions, right? Islam, and I don't know the religions of the peoples in like Southeast Asia and stuff like that, but you get the point, right? Like religion still plays a part in how they're formulating families and stuff like that. So maybe we eventually return back to religion to help guide us and formulate ourselves here in the West. I don't know. It's a thought, right?
Increase in divorce that occurred from the 1970s and 80s on. Our culture's never been great at nuance. Like, I think the United States has a tendency to treat dandruff with decapitation. I think everybody's just been like, yeah, sleep with whoever you want, whenever you want, nothing means anything, there's no God, there's no anything, there's no rules, there's not even genders, just go out and whatever feels good, do it. Doesn't matter, gain weight, lose weight, doesn't matter if you're fat, you're skinny, no one's allowed to talk about it, everything's just great. Like,
this is what's missing, y'all. This guy, he's so base. I'm gonna give him another ding for that one. This is what we're missing, y'all. We have, in society, gotten rid of shaming. Shaming is such an important tool in society to bring people into the fold, to behave in a societal normal way. We've removed shame to a point where now anybody can do anything and any whatever, and it's like anything goes. It's like a Wild West. And I think because of it, it's led us down this path. And I don't think he's wrong. I think that we are going to, as a society, redirect or correct ourselves and be like, I've seen it. I've seen the content on TikTok for women being like, who lied to us? I wish I could find the video. It went viral, and I've seen it more and more, where women are essentially saying, who lied to us? Who said that, like, we want to be independent and having to work all these long hours in the day, then come home and take care of the kids. Like, it's a lot of work. Who lied to us? and they're alluding to like feminism, you know, and they're basically saying like, we kind of want to go back to like a little bit more of a traditional thing here. Like, why am I having to do all of this? So I think the trend is going to grow over time. All right, let's catch back up with chat. All right, here we go.
Everyone's unhappy, and so we'll go the other way now. Rigidity.
And it seems like the pendulum is swinging. In 2022, there were 2.6 million weddings across the United States, which is the most we've ever seen since the 1980s. And it's even exceeded pre-pandemic norms by over 500,000. And with more Gen Z getting married with less time dating, is this a sign that Gen Z is finding what's truly important, or is this all just a flex over Instagram? What do you think is the last thing